Hi, my name is Ralph Rizzo with the Hidden Pet Fence Company. I'm glad you're tuning in. I appreciate your time. We're going to do a quick video of different ways that we can do the fencing around yards, protect gardens, stop them from going in certain areas. In just a few-minute video, you'll have a better idea of options that you can do for your yard. Now, the most common thing that folks have in their mind is, when they get a fence estimate, they want a quote to do just the backyard because they think it's cheaper to only do the backyard versus doing the back and the front yard. In many cases, if not most or all, it's usually not more expensive to add the front yard to it. And I'm going to show you some examples, and if you don't want them in the front yard and you do only want them in the backyard, we can do that too. But there's so many different options you can do. Having a conversation with us is a really great way to figure that out with your property. But just to give you an idea, I'm going to show you how we can do that. So basically, the way the fence works, there's going to be a computer module in the garage that hooks up to a wire that goes around your yard that creates the boundary. So what we have is two very common layout samples here. This is one where somebody wants to just have a fence around their backyard, so the dog goes in the backyard from the back door and stays there. Some folks have a chain link fence in their backyard already, and they just want something in the front yard, so in case the dog gets out the front door or the garage door, they can't leave the yard. So there's some positives and negatives of these. Number one, if we do the backyard for you, it's not going to protect anything in the front. So if your dog gets out this door or this door, you're no longer having a containment system that works for you because it's in the backyard only. We always recommend going around, we almost always recommend going around the whole house, and I'll show you why in a minute. So let's go back to this picture now where it's just a front yard only. Maybe there's a cliff off the back of the house and there's just no yard there and they don't want the dog there. I've seen that multiple times. Or they have a chain link fence that's working for them somewhat. Well, if we do just the front yard, we can do that as well. Now, again, it doesn't protect the dog from going out any back door and getting out. Or let's say they have a chain link or an above ground fence in the backyard, and the dog gets bigger and they start jumping that fence. Or the dog is small and is a digger and likes to dig underneath the fence. Again, if you pay for us to do the front yard, it's not protecting the back. You pay for us to do the backyard, it's not protecting the front. But some folks want these quotes because they only want the dog to stay in the backyard. They don't want him in the front. They don't want him in the driveway. They don't want barking at anybody. They don't want him barking at anybody walking down the road. So we can do these. And we can also do the next best thing, which is a two-zone system. I'm going to throw this up here so this stays in your mind. So we can protect the front or the back by itself, or we can do what's called a two-zone system. What that does is it gives you the backyard protection, just like the first example did. It gets close to the house on each side, and what that does is it creates a pinch to where when you let the dog out the back door, they have to stay in the backyard. They cannot make it to the front yard because at some point on the sides, we've cut it off, right? So you've got your backyard zone with this installation. But like this one here, with a backyard zone, the dog can get out the front door and run in the road or run down the street, cause an accident. What doing a system like this gives you the backyard zone like most folks want to keep the dog in the backyard, but it continues around the front. So it gives you a front yard zone and a backyard zone, accomplishing what we're doing with those two, but it's all in one fence, and it's, depending on your yard layout, it may not even be more expensive to do both. We simply create a stopping point on each side of the house that stops them from leaving the backyard and going to the front. This gives you a backyard zone for when they go out a back door, they stay in the backyard, cannot make it to the front, and vice versa. If they get out the front door, or you let them out the front door, they stay in the front yard and cannot go to the back. Now, one of the really neat positive things about a lot of houses, they're set up to where if we do this two-zone system, they've got their big garage door in the front, right? A lot of folks have a side garage door or a rear garage door, like a man walk-through door. If you open these two doors up, the one on the back of the garage and the one on the front of the garage, You can then open it up to where your dog has full access front to the back by just going through the garage. Yes, it is something they will figure out very quickly. So let's say you wanted a backyard zone to keep your dog in the backyard. You really don't want them in the front yard unless you're out there with them or the kids are out there. Well, this gives you the best of both worlds. It gives you a backyard only zone here, like this one. It gives you a front yard only zone like this one here. But with your front and back door of your garage, if you open those both up, your dog can now access the backyard from the front by going through the garage. So it gives you the best of both worlds. A front yard zone only, a backyard zone only, and they can have free reign to the whole yard by going through the garage. So I'm going to throw this one up here. This is probably the one I just showed you with the two zones is very, very common. We rarely do only the front or the back, but we do it because when you can get the front and the back and separate the zones, you know, it usually works out. But if it doesn't, we'll do anything that you need. This zone here is a perimeter loop. Basically, just does a big perimeter. It doesn't have to follow your perimeter. You can have it in a little bit. You can go around trees. You can do whatever you want. It doesn't have to be straight lines. These just look better because they're straight lines. This allows your dog to come out any door of your house and freely run around the house. One zone, one perimeter loop, and that's it. I'm going to put that on there. Then the next one I'm going to talk about is an open loop system. Basically what this is for is we have a lot of lakefront properties that not unlike Lake Ontario or Lake Erie, none of these really huge lakes, you wouldn't want to put the wire into those because the lakes get really rough and it'll rip the wire out. But some of the smaller lakes and ponds, if you want the dogs to have access to the water, there is a way that we can do it in most cases. It is definitely something we need to take a look at though. But it's something that we can do. If you have a boat dock here and you want the dog to freely go on the boat dock all the time, that's great. It is definitely something we can do. However, the downfall to this is if the dog goes out on the water in the wintertime and it's frozen, it could become a safety issue if they break through the ice. So if you're thinking about getting something like that, I definitely want you to think about your dog's safety in the winter because this allows them to go out any door, run around the house, and have free access to the water. Another downfall to this kind of loop is that if the dog goes out here and swims over here, they're not getting a signal from the line in the water there. So they're able to go out and be on the neighbor's property and can't get back in because now they're on the opposite side. It is something we can do. I just want you to know some of the pros and cons with it. I'm going to throw this one up here. And the last thing I'm going to show you isn't about zoning per se. It does show this diagram as a perimeter loop so the dog can go around the house. This is more for garden beds or pools. If you've got areas like these gardens or the pool that you do not want the dog to go into or go on, if it's a play set or a pool, we can run a deterrent wire around those areas, attach it to the same outdoor system, and it will keep your dog in the yard, but keep them out of the landscaping. So it is definitely something we can do. There's an extra charge for that, but it is definitely something we can do. And I'm going to throw this up here as well. This is really just some samples. Your yard may be super complex. You may want two zones in the backyard. Whatever it is, we can take a look at. I just wanted to give you a couple of examples of how we can do things. These probably represent 99% of what we do. There's some really unique stuff out there that we do, but this gives you a good idea. Any other questions about how you can lay your yard out, or does it work like this or does it work like that? Give us a call. There's a lot of information on our website. You can see 1-877-DOGYARD.com or just give us a call, 1-877-DOGYARD. Thanks for tuning in.